Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
अच्छा हूँ।
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get started. You can see my screen. You can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So लास्ट टाइम हमने कहाँ छोड़ा था? हमने छोड़ा था एलसी ऑसिलेटर्स पे हम आ गए थे, ठीक है। तो इससे पहले हमने क्या किया था? एलसीआर सर्किट्स किए थे, और एलसीआर सर्किट्स में what did we find out? We found out that there is a certain frequency called the resonant frequency at which the current is the highest, because the capacitor nullifies the effect of the inductor and vice versa. इस वजह से केवल it starts to behave at that frequency like a resistive circuit and the current becomes very high. So that resonant frequency is like the natural frequency of that circuit. Okay. Now in LC oscillators, what we did is we took out the battery also from the circuit. We took out the power supply. So there are no forced oscillations into the circuit now. And we had also removed the resistance. So we are assuming there is no resistance in this circuit. उससे क्या होता है कि पहले हम कैपेसिटर को चार्ज कर लेते हैं, ओके। एक बार हमने कैपेसिटर को चार्ज कर लिया, फिर इंडक्टर उसके साथ सीरीज में लगा दिया, एंड नाउ व्हाट स्टार्ट्स टू हैपन इज दैट द कैपेसिटर फीड्स द इंडक्टर. The inductor generates a back EMF, and when the inductor generates a reverse EMF, then by that time the capacitor discharges, and then the inductor feeds the current back into the capacitor. Okay, and that way the current keeps flowing to and forth, and it becomes like an oscillator. Okay, and it is happening at the natural frequency, which is 1 by under root LC. Okay, now let's look at how did we get this started and the analytical analysis of this. Once it got started with the charge Q on the capacitor, then we applied the Kirchhoff law and we solved this. This we have done in the last lecture, so I will not do it right here. But what, in just a couple of steps, we were able to come to a equation like this. Okay. Now, such an equation, which is a differential equation, right, of order 2. Now, such an equation, we can easily remember from what we already know, resembles the simple harmonic motion, right? It resembles the simple harmonic motion wave. Now, so let's just, rather than further analyzing this on its own, we will analyze it analogically. Analogically का मतलब कि हम इसको compare करेंगे जो हमें already known wave equation है और उसके साथ compare करके इसको समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. Okay, so this is the known equation that we have, which is the second order differential in x. Okay, x here was displacement from the mean position, and omega naught was the angular momentum. Okay, now in this case, what we already know, because from this we have done this, that the generic solution to such a problem, which is a second order differential, is a cosine function, okay, with a phase difference of phi, which by putting the initial conditions that when we start, then the capacitor has full charge. So in the beginning, the Q is equal to Qm. We are able to get that the phi is equal to 0. Okay, so this is just a use of initial conditions to find the value of a constant in an equation. और उसके बाद हमने कहा कि I is equal to minus dq by dt, which is the definition of I, right? It is the differential with respect to time of the charge. But what is important here is this sign. Okay, why do we get the minus sign? Okay, the reason we get the minus sign is that when this Q is the Q on capacitor. Okay, so it is only when the capacitor will get discharged, which is that the Q reduces, will the I increase. Okay, so on basis of that qualitative analysis, हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि जो I है वो negative differential है Q का इस केस में. तो ये हम कई बार इस तरह की टेक्निक यूज करते हैं जहाँ पे हम we use the sign based on our understanding of the circuit. Okay, so we do that, which is a simple differentiation, and what we get is omega naught Qm sine omega naught. Okay, so this is the equation of the current. We will take the argument further and we will see that what in this equation, okay, what are the correspondences. यानी कि अगर हम हार्मोनिक मोशन और इसको कंपेयर करते हैं तो हमें क्या क्या correspondence मिलते हैं. We already said that the displacement in this is similar to the charge. Okay, so ये एक हमें correspondence मिलती है. Then rate of change of displacement is velocity and rate of change of current is I. Okay, is the current. So this we get as one more correspondence. Okay, now now this is the other one, right? That what we find is that m, the mass in a simple harmonic motion, even if we are using motion, okay, then this mass is analogous to the inductance. Okay, the mass is the one which resists the change in velocity, right? So since it is the one that resists change in velocity, we can analogously see that it is the inductor which resists the change in current. Okay, since the current is analogous to velocity, then L becomes analogous to the mass. Okay, so this is the other correspondence. Now we have already found that omega naught is equal to 1 by LC, which in the case of simple harmonic motion was under root K by M, and K there was the spring constant. ठीक है, तो इसका मतलब क्या हो गया कि यहाँ पे हम अगर कंपेयर करते हैं इसको, तो वी कुड हैव रिटन इट एज लाइक दिस, right? This could have been written like this. So from there we get our analogy that K is very similar to 1 by C. Okay, and hence we get the comparison of the two equations. It's a theoretical comparison between two, and to express that how phenomenon which might seem very different can be very similar in their explanation. Okay. Now we come to what is the energy in the LC circuit. Okay. Now the big assumption here we are making is that there are no losses. Okay. Either because of the resistance or because of the electromagnetic radiations, there are no losses. हम ये मान के चलते हैं, तो what is the initial energy? Can somebody tell me what is the initial energy? Okay, so let's see this, right? Initially there is a capacitor with charge Q, okay, and there is an inductor. But in the very beginning, at time t is equal to 0, this is charged and no current is flowing. So since no current is flowing, there is no energy here. That is very clear. So the only energy is here. So what is the energy stored in a capacitor with charge Q? Does anybody remember? Energy stored in a capacitor with charge Q? It is 1 by 2 Q square by C. Okay, 1 by 2 Q square by C. We can put the value of Q square. We have found that out already, which is Qm square cos square, right? So we replaced the value of Q here, which is Qm cos omega t. Okay, so we got our initial energy, right? And now let's find the energy as the time passes in the inductor at any given point of time. So let's assume that the current at that time is I. So we know the energy in an inductor, right? So this is the energy in the capacitor. In the inductor, we know the energy is half Li square, right? So let's just put the value of that, half L. What was the value of I? The value of I we have just found was Qm omega naught sine omega naught t whole square. Okay. So what we get here is this is the current. So what is the total current energy? Total energy is equal to the energy in the capacitor plus the energy in the inductor. And this energy we can write as, we know we can take out the Qm whole square outside at least, and then we will be left with 1 by C cos square omega naught t plus square L square omega naught. Okay. Now, what can we do to simplify this further? Can we do something here? They look like here the constant is this and here the constant is this. we know omega naught square is equal to 1 by LC. Let's put that here. We will get 1 by C again. Okay, so we will get right. We take 1 by C common. All we are left with 1 inside, which is equal to half Qm square by C. Okay, which is same as the initial energy in the capacitor, which we said is this, right? Qm square. It is a, there is no term of t here, which shows it's not varying with time at any point of time. It is same as the initial energy. Okay, so the energy is conserved, provided there are no losses. Okay, so we talked about this, that why can't it continue to oscillate? Because in real life there are losses. There are two primary losses. Okay, this is important to remember. One is in the resistance, because we cannot have such a circuit without resistance. And the second is that because it has changing electric and magnetic fields, a lot of energy gets radiated because of electromagnetic. Okay, so we will move on to transformers after this, which is essentially the last topic. But before that, any doubts, any questions anybody has? अभी तक जो किया है समझ आ गया है आप लोगों को? Anybody can answer that. Meenakshi, what about you? You're following what has happened till now?
क्या सर?
अभी तक आपको समझ आ गया है जो अभी हमने किया है? We are on the last topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So, this is the last topic that we will cover in this chapter, which is the transformers. Okay. I'm sure everybody knows what a transformer is. It is a device to change the voltage in an AC circuit. Okay. So essentially, we give it some voltage and we expect a different output voltage most of the times. Okay. So that is the whole idea of a transformer. For example, if you have an air conditioner at home and you do not want to make it run at a lower voltage or a refrigerator at a lower voltage, तो आप क्या करते हैं, आप घर में एक ट्रांसफार्मर लगा लेते हैं जो अंदर की वोल्टेज चेंज होती है तो उस हिसाब से आउटपुट वोल्टेज को भी चेंज कर देता है ताकि द डिवाइस कंटिन्यूज टू वर्क. ओके, you would have seen outside your houses that there are huge transformers put by the electricity department, which converts the electricity to actually a lower voltage before it enters your house, so that it's not very risky. So it brings it down to 220 volts from 440 volts. Okay, so this is a device. It works on the principle. Okay, the phenomenon that guides it, the principle that guides it is mutual inductance. Okay, mutual inductance means that whenever there is a change in current in one coil, okay, it produces flux lines, and if there is a coil nearby, this changing current produces flux lines which are changing, okay, which create a EMF in the other inductor, in the other coil. Okay, so one coil inducing current into another coil is the mutual inductance. Okay. So let's quickly do the mathematical derivation of how this thing works. Before that, let's understand the construction of this. So there is a metallic core. Uh, this is a very standard design for mechanical reasons. It's easier to build it like this. So it's a rectangular core or a rectangular ring core. Okay, and the primary winding is done on one side with NP number of turns, and the secondary winding. So primary means the input side, and secondary means the output side. Okay, so there is a winding done on this side. However, there is another way of constructing the same device. We could have actually constructed a core like this, and we could have done our winding, okay, and our secondary winding. Okay. Both the designs are possible. From a mathematical derivation perspective, it doesn't matter what is our design. Okay, so we will say that the flux that is induced here, the flux, okay, is phi. The number of turns in the secondary here is ns. Then the EMF that is induced on this side, okay, will be, we know how much the EMF on one turn will be d phi by dt. And since there are ns turns, there will be, this will be the EMF, but this is a EMF opposing the change in flux. So the EMF is to oppose the change. Since it is opposing the change, there is a minus sign. Okay, so sorry, this is the EMF. This is the EMF. Okay, in this side. Now, since there is an EMF on this side, this induces a back EMF in this one because there is a flux being generated again because of this. Okay, so the current that was flowing here, okay, the change in the current that was flowing here, or the changes in the current that were happening here, were generating a flux, changing flux here. And the EMF that gets generated here generates a back EMF here. Okay, so it's a mutual relationship between the two, but the flux is essentially the same. Whoever produces it, the total flux continues to be the phi, right? So similarly, we get the expression for the flux on the primary side. Now, let's say the voltage that was applied here, right? So there was a voltage source applied here, since it is in. The voltage source was providing a primary voltage of V volts. If that is what was happening, and we are assuming practically no resistance here, it means that this EMF that is generated here, EMF primary, needs to balance this voltage. Okay, till it does not balance this voltage, the current in this would be technically infinite, because there will be a EMF with no resistance. So the current will be very, very high. Okay, so it is essential that this balances this, or in other words, the current in this will increase till the point this EMF balances the input voltage. Okay, so we can arrive at this result based on the contradiction of the point that there is no infinite current in this. Okay, अब हमने ये पता चल गया कि what is the input voltage. Okay, in the no load condition means there is no current being taken out, or not a lot of current being taken out. Okay, so there should be no losses here. If there are no losses here, then the output EMF should be same as the output voltage. And now, so this becomes the output voltage, and this becomes the input voltage. Then we can divide this equation 1 and 2 to arrive at a relationship between the voltage at the output, the secondary voltage and the input voltage, and the number of windings. Okay, so what it means is that the secondary voltage will be bigger than the primary voltage if the number of windings on the secondary side are higher. ठीक है, तो इसका चलिए हम आगे देखें. We'll come to that. So I have a slide, so we will move forward for now. ठीक है. If there are no losses, then we can say that the input power is equal to output power. Power is current into voltage. So at both sides we do this. We get a reciprocal relationship. Notice it that output current by input current is equal to the windings on the primary side by the number of windings on the secondary side, which is reciprocal of the one that we got for the voltage. Okay, so we get a reciprocal relationship. So remember this because there could be questions regarding this. Okay, now the meaning of step up and step down. Okay, so step up and step down is with respect to voltage. हमेशा ये टर्म जो हम यूज करते हैं कि ये स्टेप अप है. अप मीन्स वोल्टेज अप करता है, डाउन मीन्स वोल्टेज डाउन करता है. हमेशा वोल्टेज की बात हो रही है. ठीक है, सो स्टेप अप करने के लिए क्या मतलब है कि अगर हमारा यहाँ पे ट्रांसफॉर्मर था, यहाँ पे अगर मैंने एक इनपुट वोल्टेज दी और आउटपुट वोल्टेज मुझे मिली, स्टेप अप का मतलब है कि आउटपुट वोल्टेज ये इनपुट वोल्टेज से बड़ी देगा. ये करने के लिए जो सेकेंडरी वाइंडिंग्स हैं वो प्राइमरी वाइंडिंग से ज्यादा होंगे. सिमिलरली स्टेप डाउन का रिवर्स लॉजिक. ठीक है, सो स्टेप डाउन स्टेप अप हमें वोल्टेज की टर्म्स में बताया जा सकता है, करंट की टर्म में बताया जा सकता है, वाइंडिंग की टर्म में बताया जा सकता है. सो इफ द क्वेश्चन इज simple question is that there is a transformer and there is an input current flowing here of 1 ampere and there is a output current flowing of 2 ampere. Okay, if such a transformer is there, the question is it step up or step down? ये अप है, स्टेप अप है या स्टेप डाउन है? Who will answer this simple question for me? ये स्टेप अप है या स्टेप डाउन है? 1 एम्पियर इनपुट है और 2 एम्पियर आउटपुट है, तो ये स्टेप अप है स्टेप डाउन है? बताइए. महावीश आप बताएंगे. महावीश.
सॉरी सर.
हाँ, ये स्टेप अप है या स्टेप डाउन है ये ट्रांसफॉर्मर?
स्टेप.
1 एम्पियर इनपुट 2 एम्पियर आउटपुट. क्या लगता है आपको?
सर 1 इंटीरियर आउटपुट.
बताइए कि ये स्टेप अप ट्रांसफॉर्मर है या स्टेप डाउन है ये ट्रांसफॉर्मर?
सर स्टेप अप.
स्टेप अप.
यस सर.
हाँ, देखिए मैंने आपको बताया कि स्टेप अप और स्टेप डाउन जो है वो वोल्टेज के रेस्पेक्ट में होता है. ठीक है, अब पावर दोनों साइड पे सेम है, तो अगर यहाँ पे वोल्टेज V थी, ठीक है, तो पावर हो गई V into 1. अब मान लीजिए यहाँ पे कितनी वोल्टेज होनी चाहिए कि पावर V ही रहे? वोल्टेज होनी चाहिए V/2, ठीक है ना? तो इनपुट वोल्टेज V है, तो आउटपुट वोल्टेज इज V/2, और हम स्टेप अप स्टेप डाउन बोलते हैं वोल्टेज की वजह से। तो ये स्टेप डाउन ट्रांसफॉर्मर, ओके। Now, somebody else, can you try and answer this question? There are two transformers. This one transformer, this is 100 number of turns on this side. Okay, and there are 200 turns on this side. This is primary side, this is secondary side. तो ये स्टेप अप है या स्टेप डाउन है ट्रांसफॉर्मर? बताइए। अनुभव, आप बताएंगे? अनुभव?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, इसमें इधर 100 टर्न है, इधर 200 टर्न है, तो ये स्टेप अप ट्रांसफॉर्मर है या स्टेप डाउन है?
Step down है sir.
किस बेसिस पे कह रहे हैं आप स्टेप डाउन है? यहाँ पे 100 टर्न है या 200 है?
तो मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा ये टॉपिक।
आपको समझ क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है? अच्छा ये बताइए।
सर आपने ये बताया यहाँ से स्टार्ट किया था ट्रांसफॉर्मर से, तो मेरी समझ में नहीं आया सर ये।
हाँ, तो ये ना ट्रांसफॉर्मर इस पूरे चैप्टर का सबसे आसान टॉपिक है, ठीक है। इसमें कुछ भी आपको देखिए, एक डेरिवेशन है, डेरिवेशन तो आपको 2-3 बार करके याद करनी है। समझने के लिए कुछ भी ज्यादा नहीं है। इधर वाइंडिंग होती है एक कोर पे और इधर भी वाइंडिंग होती है, ठीक है। अगर यहाँ जितनी ज्यादा वाइंडिंग होती है और यहाँ उसको बोलते हैं, उसके टर्न्स को काउंट करके बोलते हैं प्राइमरी टर्न्स, और इसको बोलते हैं सेकेंडरी टर्न्स। जिस तरफ ज्यादा टर्न्स होते हैं उधर वोल्टेज ज्यादा होती है। तो अब अगर यहाँ पे टर्न्स कम है, यहाँ ज्यादा है, तो वोल्टेज यहाँ ज्यादा होगी। और अगर आउटपुट में वोल्टेज ज्यादा है तो स्टेप अप हो गया ये। और करंट हमेशा उल्टा होता है, जैसे अगर वोल्टेज जहां ज्यादा है वहां करंट कम होता है ट्रांसफार्मर में, क्योंकि पावर इक्वल होनी चाहिए दोनों तरफ। तो वोल्टेज बढ़ेगी तो करंट कम होना चाहिए, ठीक है। ये आपको किताब से भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा, लेक्चर में भी समझना पड़ेगा। कोई डाउट्स आपको रह जाएं तो लास्ट चैप्टर नेक्स्ट क्लास में आप पूछ लीजिए, उसके बाद हम वी विल मूव टू इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स, ठीक है, क्योंकि आपके एग्जाम से पहले वो हमें कंप्लीट करना है। बट ये एक आसान चैप्टर है, इसमें डेरिवेशंस ज्यादा है थोड़ी सी, लेकिन जो बाकी पार्ट है ना, एक बार डेरिवेशंस हटा के भी देख सकते हैं आप। एक बार सोचिए कि चलिए डेरिवेशन अलग से करेंगे, केवल आप कॉन्सेप्ट समझ लीजिए जिस तरह मैंने आपको बताए हैं, सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं। अगर आप बस उतना याद रखेंगे तो न्यूमेरिकल्स कर पाएंगे। डेरिवेशंस केवल इसलिए याद रखनी है कि डेरिवेशन का क्वेश्चन आए, न्यूमेरिकल में डेरिवेशन का डायरेक्ट यूज नहीं है, ठीक है। चलिए 1-2 पॉइंट्स बचे हैं, वो करके वी विल बी डन विद दिस चैप्टर। तो इसमें हम अजम्पशंस क्या मानते हैं? वही अजम्पशन जो ऑलमोस्ट हर जगह मानते हैं, कि जो रेजिस्टेंस है वो कम है, ओके। दूसरा हम ये मानते हैं कि जो फ्लक्स है वो कहीं पे भी लूज नहीं हुआ। तो अगर हमारी ये कोर है, ठीक है ना, और हमारे पास कोर है और इस कोर में यहाँ फ्लक्स है, जो फ्लक्स इज फ्लोइंग थ्रू दिस, राइट। तो ये फ्लक्स will be actually in reality also leaving into the air. We are assuming that flux is not escaping. That is one assumption we make. And the secondary current, the current here is small. Because if the current here is large, then the voltage will be actually lower than the EMF. So जो हमने assumption बनाया कि voltage is equal to EMF, वो सच नहीं होगा। इसलिए हम केवल ये मानते हैं कि इधर करंट कम है। When we make all these assumptions, the equations that we derived are true. Okay. Finally, this is a theoretical part. It doesn't have any numericals, but what can cause losses in the transformer? Okay. Transformers usually are one of the most efficient devices in the electrical world. They are very, very efficient. Okay. Yet there are some losses. The first is flux leakage, which means that if there was this core and the flux was flowing in this like this, then this flux a little bit is escaping into the air. It's not always going through the core and hence not through the turns. So this causes some amount of losses. The second is resistance in the winding, which is very simple to know. If there is resistance by the Joule's law, it will cause heating by I squared R. And this is the losses because of resistance. Now, what are eddy currents? This is a topic that you need to understand. So if there is a flux, right, and there is a conductor like this. So because of the change in flux, there will be currents induced on the surface also. Okay. Now, since there is an EMF induced, then and there is a conductor there and there is an EMF across it, then obviously there will be currents flowing on the conductor. Now, these are surface currents and hence called the eddy currents. They are surface currents and they lead to heating because of heavy current flowing in this. Now, how do we reduce this? Okay, this we can reduce by doing what? By laminating it. So usually if you have ever opened a transformer, you would find that it's not one piece of the core, but they are very thin sheets which are separated by very thin layer of varnish and the winding is done on that. Okay. Now what happens is that these currents have to flow like this on each individual lamination. Since they are flowing in this, the total path they take is a very long path. Okay. Since the path is very long and the EMF is still the same, the I becomes less. I reduces. If I reduces, the I square R losses also reduce. Okay, so eddy current losses are prevented by lamination. Okay, the flux losses can be prevented by using this design that I just talked about, by winding it here. Okay, so that there is very little loss. Resistance by using better quality of wire. And what is hysteresis? See, hysteresis आप लोगों ने शायद पढ़ा है या नहीं, I'm not sure इस बार है या नहीं syllabus में, but hysteresis is this, that if there is a magnetizing force, okay, and the induced magnetism, okay, on the magnet is not linear. So when we increase the magnetizing force, there is an increase in magnetization. But when we reduce the magnetizing force, it actually non-linearly reduces back. And again, we increase the magnetizing force, it non-linearly magnetizes again. Since it does not follow the same path of magnetization, right? So it is not a conservative situation, which means that there are losses. Okay, how much these losses etc. are, we don't have to worry, but by using a low hysteresis material, these losses can be